So with that, I wanted to start our presentation. We're going to start with the Honorable Laura Tucker Longsworth from Elise. I'm sorry, I apologize. And she'll be talking about ending cervical cancer. Welcome, please.
Good afternoon. Sorry, I need to come down so that I can get closer. My presentation is not lengthy, but I wanted to share with you the process that we went through just through advocacy and the support of the Healthy Caribbean Coalition. I noticed that we have an online petition that we're being asked to support, and I think it would be very important because this certainly helped our initiative in the East. So I guess it's a strange place to start, but I wanted to start with acknowledgement because the End Cervical Cancer initiative by the Healthy Caribbean was really, really important. It really influenced the development of what we now have, a comprehensive cancer control program for Belize. And we're really extremely proud of our involvement in that. So I really need to also extend gratitude to our drivers and the Secretariat for finding funds for us to be able to support our work in Belize. And of course, we got grants through the ACC from Direct Aid, American Cancer Society, many other organizations who either invited us to workshops, seminars, and so on. And of course, I really had to start by acknowledging the wonderful support of technical advisor in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Natalia Beer, who had always wanted to do this, but did not have the kind of support that she needed. She needed us to do things that she couldn't do. And so it was a perfect match, and we worked intensely. She worked intensely, not only with local entities, but with international experts to get the plan done. The energy and how many of you know Heather? She was up here this morning. When Heather calls on that telephone, you can't say no. And so I have to big her up as the BCS's administrator. Dr. Bev, I see you clapping, so you know the energy, right? The administrator, she played a key role in convening countless numbers of meetings, finding resources, finding out from ACC she could take some money to do certain things. And of course, they couldn't say no either. And of course, always making sure that we had efficient management of whatever funds that we were using. So then, yes, cervical cancer is a big deal for us in Belize. It's really important to the health of our women, of our nation. And at the Cancer Society, well, you know, if you lack a comprehensive report program for the country, people will find their way to you for support. And we see our women coming to us in late stages of cancer, and the whole issue of prevention was not really addressed. And so then this was one of the things that's really caught our attention and really made it so important for our country. And of course, as we know, the incidence there is really high. Our Belize City residents, of course, they're the largest population, but nevertheless, it is really worrisome for the number of young people in their early 20s, up 28 years old, dying from cervical cancer. And so it's certainly a problem for us. I think we mentioned this morning about resources to manage NCDs. And we touched a little bit about on human resources. And that is very important. You see, this is the population that the Ministry of Health, Dr. Bear, has to work with. And this is the kind of coverage she needs to have to complete her mandate. When the Cancer Society moves in, and helps her to reach their target, then we become real partners. So with our grants and so on, we're able to carry out or support some of the campaigns because we're able to pay for maybe transport, maybe toiletries, and so on, or facilitate a room or something for meetings. That is really, really important. And we work with the senior public health nurse in Belize City. And each year she keeps at us. We go all over the country. We go to our indigenous communities down south and out to the Keys to help them to achieve their target goals of screening for the country. Okay, so coming out of the cervical cancer initiative that was started by us here at ACC with our campaigns, our online campaign, we heightened the entire issue of cervical cancer. We got all the politicians, everybody involved, so they were suddenly aware that we are on to something. And so we moved ahead and initiated the establishment of a national cervical cancer prevention and control committee. And all the meetings were convened by us at the Cancer Society. We made countless calls, many days of photocopying for meetings. We convened training sessions with nurses, physicians, everybody. We had health fairs. We had the children in high school, educating them about the committee and what we plan to do. And I guess that got everybody on board. And so if you will see, the National Health Insurance joined us, the Belize Family Life Association, the private sector played a very important role in the development of the cancer prevention and control plan. And so we use the guiding frameworks here that you see, including our strategic plan, our NCD strategic plan, and of course the international guidelines. And of course, these are some of our partners, and at some point somebody paid for something. At some point, some agency paid for something. And I think that's important to take note of. So our outputs coming out of this small initiative, sitting many hours in the Cancer Society's meeting room, these things were produced with the dynamic leadership of Dr. Laga Espada here. So we had our guidelines, our prevention and control strategic plan. We planned to launch the HPV vaccine. We launching up our VIA services for the first time. We did not have that. Training countrywide, and of course the completion of our grants, our ATC and the C4 VIA grants, and the purchase of colposcopy units for the country. But I won't reveal whatever the. She still owes money for this colposcopy. Oh, you paid for it? Okay. She got to be able to send us on consignment. Okay, so we are all familiar with this, and of course we use the whole issue of HPV vaccination as part of the primary prevention. We continue to work on health education wherever we can, especially for the high school children. And of course, we start pushing for adolescent health services. We're not doing as well there because of the issues of our whole issue of our gender policies and health policies that some of the churches push back on. And they make so much noise that there one or two of them had to be pulled back and then quietly reintroduced. Okay, and then of course, so Belize now joins this list of these nations or countries who have now launched the HPV vaccine. So it's a vaccine, it's now part of our vaccine schedule. So what we did, there was a cost effectiveness study done with by PAMCO on the HPV vaccine in Belize. We used the Servivac cost-effectiveness model. And of course, the conclusions were that, yes, it would be highly effective. And so with that kind of data, we were able to start lobbying for funds to purchase the vaccines. And we did so with Social Security Board. They bought into it. They bought into the idea that you'd be able to do some studies down the road to see what the impact of the vaccines are. Since then, of course, the Ministry of Health has come on board thereon, and that's where the sustainability is. But I think we'll still continue to work with Social Security Board. Okay, so this was the big thing. The marketing of the vaccine was huge. How would we go about introducing the HPV vaccines without the conservative evangelical groups, Catholic churches pushing us back? Well, we put on our boots and we took to the streets. We, we went to the Catholic bishop. He invited us back 3 times and then invited us back again to speak to all his pastors and principals. And what we did, we took some documents. We took all the studies that we had that show that our children are having early sexual debut. And we took global health studies to show them what all the things the children are saying about what they're doing, smoking, drinking, everything. He was impressed. So that's how we got in and started with him. And at one point we got a call. They took us all the way to the north of the country to meet with 200 teachers or something like that. We met with the Minister of Education, and when I said meet, just myself, Dr. Baird, and one of her staff. We met with the Minister of Education along with his top team, and they had ideas about introducing it to their teachers and so on, and we followed those instructions. I want to tell you that coming out of the meeting with the Catholic bishop, apparently he called one day and said he had sent up the query to Vatican, their scientific team, and they had endorsed it. So for the first time, we got a letter endorsing the HPV vaccine by the Catholic Church. So the Ministry of Health, they thought that maybe they would frame the thing or something, but that worked. So that clearly we, and as you may know, that they have the largest number of students throughout the country in this following churches. And then we held many media breakfasts and meetings, not one, several. They told us what we should have on the sheets, how we should formulate the information. We trained all the nurses on HPV vaccines. I can't remember how many training sessions we had, because like everything else, you have resistance. Some people believe in it. You have people within the profession who are anti-vaccines as well, not only the community. We had, and many of those meetings were supported by our grants from ACC. And we had an interesting conversation. We had the meeting with the Council of Churches. So the Methodists and Americans were there, including the conservative group from the Evangelical Association. And they listened and asked questions, and then I got a call the following day, and the pastor from the Evangelical Association said, I'm setting up that meeting you asked me to, but we don't want you to come. You don't come. Send the guy that was sitting there. So I said, no problem. And the physician was a doctor. He went over and he had an excellent meeting, and to date, there has been no pushback, unlike what has happened with the general policy. So the marketing of the vaccine is very important. And the parents, then we went after the parents, Parent Teachers Association, nurses were there to answer questions, and of course, the consent forms. And we had fathers and mothers signing those consent forms. And so then we chose girls in standard 4 class because, as you know, we don't have a lot of money. So we had to choose what the cohort that would be most impactful. And so they chose standard 4 class because by the time students get to standard 6, we start having some results of the standard 6 class. So they thought that that was the best class to start. When we started for the first year, we were already at 58%, and since then we have 70% coverage, and we're told that that is fairly good for the first year. And so then, while that is going on, we continue to work on the plan, and so the plan calls for VIA, and we work on that again from scratch, and they looked at the guidelines, who would get it, who would be their target population, where it would be done in the regional hospitals, community hospitals, what would be done, and of course the rural health centers. And these were very important because when, especially in our very rural communities, among our indigenous groups, if they come to the clinic, you better be able to do something. If not, when they go back, you'll never see them again, many of them. And so those things have to be taken into consideration. And so we completed the lead training. Japaigo helped us a lot with that. It came into country. VIA prior lead training. We had physicians and nurses being trained. The Paragons were bought by the ministry. The Rotary Club provided tanks. The ministry and CARICOM provided the lead. And all of us chipped in to find the Culpus folks. Right, Heather?
Yes, ma'am.
Please pay your bill.
I will.
And so this is the kind of reports that we get. And we're very happy to have contributed to the achieving of some of these targets. And so the current situation, we are now able to do pap smear and VIA, but we still have a problem with the turnaround time for pap smears. Reading of those samples are really problematic, despite the fact that we try so hard. So we use whatever funds we get to make sure that we have a designated lab that will provide the turnaround time for those tests, but generally the general population can take quite a while. So VIA will be done as far as they can do so. And where we hope to go, we just want to increase the VIA screening sites, especially in our rural communities, and continue to train our rural health nurses. Of course, we need staff. I wish we could say how we'll increase them. We, of course, continue with our outreach sessions and definitely work with our nurses and physicians and move to liquid cytology since the quality of the slides are better, and hopefully someday in the future we'll be having our HPV screening. Thank you. Just need to invest more.